Good evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 318th take, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. This is going to be a fantastic show. I'm so excited to have this gentleman back. He is one of the finest gentlemen in the entire industry. I always say this every week, that this is always one of my favorite people, but that's just how great the industry is. I have some of my favorite people on every single week. And before we get to formal introductions of our guests of honor tonight, we want to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our sponsors. Tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate's done it once again, bringing one of their staple brands, the Nica Rustica Broadleaf, to a new Vitola. The now Gordo size Vitola from Nica Rustica Broadleaf is available at all Drew Diplomat retailers. This popular size is a punch of flavor for all fans of Nica Rustica. It has become one of the classic brands of the Drew Estate portfolio. It is now available in an all-new popular size, the 6x60 Gordo. You want to check out the Drew Diplomat retailer today to pick up yourself some of this new size of this ultimate classic cigar for Drew Estate. And welcome, everybody. This is our 318th take. It's without further ado that tonight's audio broadcast is always brought to you by our friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars, as well as our video broadcast later, which you can always tune into on YouTube, as well as our Facebook Live every Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Central, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It is courtesy of our friends at Foundation Cigars. Nick Mello is a well-known cigar maker in the premium cigar industry. He is the founder and owner of Foundation Cigars, which produces a range of high-quality, handcrafted cigars. His values consist of quality, consistency, balance, and flavor. Thanks to our good friends at Foundation Cigar. And finally, we welcome tonight's guest, which is brought to you by United Cigar. Smoke one today and start living united. Yes, it's Mr. Rafael Nodal of Altadis USA. Rafael, how you doing today?
There, thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. What a 318 episode. What an amazing accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Rafael. Thank you so much. And I know you've been traveling quite a bit. And it's taken a little bit of a toll, but you are the consummate professional here, and as always. And I'm so thrilled for you to be here with me tonight.
Thank you. So I'm not smoking or drinking. Well, I am drinking, but not liquor. And so I just came in yesterday afternoon from the Puro Sabor in Dominica. And sorry, in Nicaragua. And I got a little bit sick traveling got rain at night a little bit, and then in Jalapa a little bit rain yesterday, and I came back really bad. My voice, I couldn't talk, but I went to sleep yesterday afternoon at maybe like at 7 p.m. and I wake up today at 8 o'clock. I have been sleeping for a lot. I got a voice. At least you guys, hopefully.
Well, hopefully it will get the very best.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
You can hear me. I apologize.
We can hear you very well, Rafael. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hopefully you're on the mend very, very soon. And again, just thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Bear.
But I wanted to get you on specifically today because I thought that it would be a really great opportunity. For one, we haven't visited in quite some time.
In quite a while.
And so let's just go ahead and launch into tonight's major point, which is always brought to you by our friends at Gran Habano Cigars. From the fertile lands of Honduras, George Rico and his family have put together the very best vintages for you. Yes, you, the cigar smoker. From value-based hits like the Corojo No. 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary to special projects like Zulu Zulu, Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. Culture, tradition, quality, premium, handcrafted. That's our good friends at Gran Habano Cigars. Now, I thought this would be an interesting kind of a take because, as Rafael, you know, and as my audience knows, I'm a really big fan of the Trinidad Espiritu No. 1, and it finished. It finished and was my number 3 cigar of the year in 2020.
Correct.
And I continue to enjoy it to this day, and I really enjoy the Espiritu No. 2 as well. It was a bubble cigar, unfortunately, last year. So it didn't make my list. I feel bad about that, but it's still a fantastic cigar. But the cigar that I find is really been just terrific for me the last few months since I was first introduced to it um, is the latest iteration, which is the Trinidad number three. Now, I've got two Vitolas here, and since you won't be joining me tonight, unfortunately, I thought that you could at least pick which Vitola I'll be smoking, and then I have the Espiritu number two as well, and the Espiritu number one. But I have the Toro in the number three, and then also the Robusta. So, what Vitola would you like me to smoke tonight?
I think the Toro, eh? I think the Toro complements the blend, which is a little bit heavy, more tobacco, and I think that brings some of the more flavors into the Vitola. You know, this project was an amazing opportunity because we started with the Espiritu One, which was the spirit of the Caribbean, and which, by the way, that was what I was going to smoke here and the total size. And then we have started the spirit of Brazil, and then the third one, the spirit of Mexico, and that's how we did it. Basically, it's incorporating tobacco from those different blends, you know. I And that's something great because every country that we have been visiting this with these blends offer great tobacco, right? An opportunity to get itself in the actual quality of the cigar. By the way, number two is Brazil, and the number three Mexico. I may have said it wrong, but we are extremely happy, and we have actually in a couple of months a new one, a limited edition, and that we are planning to introduce as well. Then I hope you like as well.
Well, yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to talk a little bit about this journey that Trinidad has taken here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we are going to talk, and we're going to definitely talk about this blend because this is wrappers, San Andreas, as you said, you're honoring Mexico. The binder and filler are both Nicaraguan, and of course, like all the other spirituous, was manufactured at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez
Correct.
in Nicaragua. So, we're also going to talk about your continuing collaborations with him as well. So, really exciting stuff. But I kind of wanted to go back to this. You know, this is everyone's favorite time of year. This is award season,
Yeah.
right? For just another fantastic year. Um, you all make the list. The Montecristo 1935 anniversary makes another spot. The number two again. It was number two for the second time. It just tells you how fantastic that blend is in Cigar Aficionado. But I wanted to go back through this and just to kind of bask in a lot of the accomplishments that you've had and the success that you've had in a number of lists. Of course, my own list, we mentioned Espiritu number
Yeah.
one was the number three cigar in 2020. Monte Cristo 1935 anniversary Churchill was my number eight in 2021. And then the most recent one was the St. Louis Rey Cadenas, which was my number three cigar of the year in 2022. On Cigar Dojo, the H. Upman 180
180.
was was the number two cigar this year. For Coop,
You got two.
the cigar that I'm smoking right now, yeah, the Trinidad Espiritu, number 14, and the Monte Cristo 1935 Edición Diamante, the Toro, this is number 17. Um, Trinidad Espiritu number one was number 12 for Cigar Aficionado 2023.
Right.
Monte Cristo Diamante, number 23 that same year. And then
Yes.
this cigar right here, this blend right here, which I think is probably one of the most underrated that you've ever done, Rafael. I
Yeah.
think we've talked about this, the Romeo and Julieta Reserva Real Nicaraguan Churchill. Now, I'm kind of also doing this for my good friends at Cigar Dojo, Eric Gatorbson, who challenged me. He's like, I want to know when the last time because we were talking about Romeo and
Right.
Julieta specifically. He's like, when's the last time you bought one? I said, I buy them all the time. He's like, no, you don't. And I said, yes, I do. So
We
here's
want to
proof.
see.
Yeah, here's proof. Here's proof that I do. So,
That's a great
but
cigar. We released in the middle of the pandemic, and
yeah.
obviously we wanted to do it at the beginning of in January of 2020. That we were late for a little bit, and then we just the world toughest world. We were late, and then we did it late in the year, and we did it with some on the internet and things. Remember all those somebody was talking to me yesterday on the festival. You know, are you gonna do these lives? And I said, no, man, that is tough for us. Let it to professionals that know what they're talking, and that was just in a once in a lifetime, just because of what happened, right?
Yeah. I man, and that was both very good for, the pandemic was kind of fun in terms of these lists was kind of fun for you, but not at the same time, obviously, what we were all going through and all the challenges we had. But the Aging Room Quattro got to be the number one cigar for like the longest reigning champion. It was like a year and like 3 months or whatever. 'Cause
Yeah, we couldn't come out. We had it's funny how works how God works because I told my wife, forget about me being here, no vacations. I'm gonna be such a schedule of traveling, which I've done in 2013 when we got the number two with the
right.
Quattro 55. And for God is a little bit funny, and I was at home from March maybe 11 to the whole time. It's yeah, I didn't think my wife was going to be able to keep me at home for a whole year, but it did. We survived, and it was great being home with her.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mixed blessings during that time and everything. So,
Absolutely.
for a lot of folks, for a lot of
Right.
friends like you in the cigar industry, there's just a lot of more time with family and stuff.
Right.
But this has just been a lot of success, and it all kind of I won't say started with 2019, but that was kind of I think that was fun, the culmination of over a decade's worth of work, over 2 decades worth of work. I mean, um, you started smoking in the late 90s, right? It was like 1998, 99, right?
Exactly. February 23rd of 1998. I met Nick Perdomo and I bought my first box of cigar. I went home and I told my wife, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And she said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do cigar. That day, look at it. That's the day I met Nick Perdomo, Janine, the two kids, and his brother-in-law, um, uh, um, Perdomo's father. And it was just an amazing opportunity. Of course, my wife being a psychiatrist, she said, sure, honey, you can do whatever you want. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing it.
It it's interesting, right? Because there's a kinship of your background. I mean, you're obviously you're Cuban, and you know so that automatically, I mean, I'm sure you got those assumptions for your first 20 years in this country, like, oh, do you smoke cigars, or do you make
Every day,
cigars? Or, yeah, and
every day.
and um and then you ultimately come to it, which I think is kind of interesting and kind of a full circle thing and
Yeah,
everything.
because Hank Bishop, my partner, and was my employee at the hotel, at the hospital, and he comes and I say, "You smoke cigar, right?" And I say, "No." Well, you're Cuban. I thought you would smoke. I said, "No, I don't," because they think you know how to dance salsa, smoke cigar, roast a pig, and all that. So I went with him, and we bought his cigars. Nick at the time was in Little Havana, Flagler Street, and that's how he started. And then I started making with Nick cigar. Then met Oliveros, and I eventually bought the Olivero brand. So Nick started making cigar because Olivero at the time was making only flavor cigar, and we started with the Olivero Gran Reserva. We started getting outside of the flavor cigars, and that's how we did. Then it came Premier Selection, then it came Swag Puro Dominicano, and finally Aging Room in 2011. So it has been a long one. So whenever people say, "Man, unbelievable, you got such an amazing thing, overnight success," I said, "Well, it was a very long night, no?"
So we've had this conversation before, but I kind of wanted to bring it to the conversation because I think once we stumbled upon this in like one of my most recent interviews with you, with Coop, I really haven't been able to let go of it, and it's been kind of festering in my brain, and it's a conversation that I've wanted to have. Again, we just talked about your background. Here comes
Right.
here comes a Cuban immigrant into our country, no background in cigars, and falls in love with the industry. And then you create your own brands, which we're gonna get into in a little bit as well too. But you create your own brands, your own experience, and everything like that. And then it kind of comes full circle, and you become what we've kind of coined and we've kind of talked about, you become the face of the stewardship of these legacy Cuban brands. And I mean, what a responsibility. And I know you take this very seriously, but have you had time to kind of like look back and stand back and say like, oh my, like look at your own journey and say, wow, how did I get here?
Yeah, it is. For me, I still can't believe it, right? Because but making blend for a room and our blends, well, it's they need to be good blends, but nothing happened. But when you have the responsibility, if you have such an iconic brand that has been in, let's say, Montecristo since 1935, Shomas in 1845, Montecristo, I mean Romeo y Julieta since 1875. These are some iconic brands with amazing times, and you just don't want to mess it up. That's my goal in life, not to mess it up. We can do a little bit better. We will. And my boss, Javier Estades, gave me the opportunity. I'm a dreamer. I think I can do everything, and I try to do everything. And he had allowed me to dream big, do this, and it's thanks to him, I can work on this canvas. I had a little canvas before, but now I have a big canvas, and a big responsibility, and something that I love. I love with our factories, with
Mhm.
our partners, third party partners, and with our different channels of distribution for our brands. So it is something that is a lot of responsibility. I take it very serious, by the way. Take it
Mhm.
very serious.
It's yeah, it's an incredible responsibility because I think, and then we've talked about this too because, and I know you take it seriously, but it's not just caretaking for these brands. It's also like as you mentioned, you're a dreamer, right? You're a creator, and you've created some wonderful brands and projects with these brands and everything. But it's also a responsibility in the sense of like we can't stray too far and lose our identity. And
Absolutely.
so how do you do that? And I know that's a really broad question, but how do you rein in how do you rein in your creativity, but also let it
Yeah,
flourish as well?
yeah. Well, actually, it's a system or a process that we are very objectively, although many times you got subjectively all of the things that we do, but we know exactly what we do. For example, Romeo y Julieta, Montecristo and Showman, we want to take a journey with the people to do through time, through the new blends. For example, we had the 1875 Romeo and Juliet, and we did the Romeo 1875 Nicaragua, Habano, and then we did the Nicaragua Connecticut. And what we did is we wanted to sparkle it a little bit of Nicaragua, in the blend, but I did not the number thing. And we did the Reserva Real the same. Reserva Real Dominicana, and then Reserva Real Nicaragua, and then the Twisted Nicaragua. And so I spent days and months in the reviews, people listening to people on the thing. The number one, now we can do this with computer, but the number one comment about the Nicaragua Dominicana, sorry, not Nicaragua, the Reserva Real Dominicana, we number thing was very creaminess. It was very cream. So
Mhm.
we know with the Reserva Real Nicaragua, it needed to be cream. We cannot lose the essence. And then we sparkled a little bit. We made it a little bit stronger, just a little bit, and a little, it gets some more Nicaragua flavor, but without overwhelm of the people, of that smoking that. So yeah, it is based like that. So it's a process that is that is very we debate a lot, but it's very focused on what we want to do.
Yeah, it's such an interesting challenge that I've wanted to discuss with you for a while. So I want to move over to the cigar in the series that we're smoking now. So what seems like 100 years ago, when I had the good fortune of smoking the Monte Cristo Anniversary 1935 with you for the very first time. It's the first time I smoked it. You,
Live, I
me,
think it
Coop.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you, me, and Coop.
That was very
Jennifer. Yeah.
scary.
I remember you being nervous about it, and I think we were both blown away by it, and I think that's also been proven that we continue to smoke that blend and really enjoy it. But what was at the time when we were talking about, I remember we were talking about Trinidad specifically, and you were
Right,
like, "Well, look out! Like it's
right,
the next iteration of Trinidad is coming." And so you've taken us on this journey, Spiritu number one, Spiritu number two, and what I'm smoking tonight, the Spiritu number three. So why did it what was it about Trinidad that kind of spoke to you like saying, "Hey, we're going to honor these regions of the world that have given so much to the cigar industry in and we're going to use Trinidad as the vessel."
right.
It's
Well,
there.
the truth is, we tried to work with the before I got here with the Trinidad brand, and we were not successful. And
Yeah.
so we wanted to do something different, completely different, and come out with a series of three, which I now wish we had out because we got tobacco from other countries. But we're gonna do it in different limited editions. So this year, actually, we have two releases of Trinidad that we are extremely happy about it. Started working maybe on May or June of last year, and a limited edition, and then another one that we are so extremely happy where we taking the brand from where it was. You know, we had some Trinidad that just didn't do well, and it just have been performing. Last year, both the three numbers double 200% from the year before in sales.
Mhm.
And so that's an amazing accomplishment for us because what a dormit was a dormit brand. And then we did the colors, right? As you know, I'm in a color for a stage of my life, which is about there's so much history in our culture. So when you do something from Brazil, you can do just amazing things, right? And then Mexico as well, or the Caribbean as well. Excuse me. So I think we just let the imagination go, right? And that's what we done. And I wait for that for the next one that is coming pretty soon.
That's wonderful. Um so I mean so Trinidad Spiritu number one comes out. It's an all Nicaraguan Puro. You decide to collaborate with AJ on this. Now, you and AJ have had tremendous success, so it's
Yeah.
easy to say, well, yeah, I'm gonna partner with my friend AJ here.
Right.
But I know you've had tremendous success collaborating with other folks
With
there.
others, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
So
but what we done is if the brand does very well, I have promised every one of our partners that the next generation will be with them, to reward them a little bit for doing an amazing job and doing, and they do all do it. But I felt bad having a Trinidad Espiritu that is fantastic, and then do it with another manufacturer. It just didn't feel good, and for me, keeping your word, having your commitment in this industry is in any industry, but especially in this one, is special. I never left that. You do the 1935, then Diamante, Doble Diamante. We do it with Agent because that has been very successful
mhm.
there. Yeah, so that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's I mean, I don't know how and you can certainly educate me here, Raphael. I don't know how it works necessarily, but I think it's well known that one, two things. One, AJ has a very signature flavor, and he also works incredibly well with a lot of different tobaccos. He also
Right.
has a great deal of tobacco. Now, how does that work? Do you, Raphael, and I know I'm probably getting a little bit in the weeds, but do you go down there and look at his tobacco? Do you bring your own tobacco in, collaborate with him on the blend? How does that all work?
Well, in this particular series, it started with an idea of where we wanted the Trinidad first to go, and we started the Trinidad where we wanted the number two to go, and then the number three. So that determined the tobaccos. And one thing with a we don't have tobacco. He goes and buys from the same one, and it's the best tobacco and things like that. So we outsource many of the tobaccos, and of course he added to his amount of inventory of tobaccos. But It's we like to dream together. AJ, like me, is a dreamer, right? And he wants to be the best there is. And dreamers dream, and that's what we do together. It has a lot of difficulty because I don't like this blend, or blah, 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 blah. He doesn't like that blend. We change it. Has been from the beginning, and then we say this is unbelievable. And sometimes I give up a little bit, sometimes he gives up a little bit, but at the end of the day, he says, listen, what you want, what we're going to do. But he makes our dreams reality, what the things we want. And that happened with the 1935 line. And listen, with the Montecristo M, right? So original was going to be Montecristo Oro. Our new marketing department came out with, I was over, they changed it to M to be able to do a series. And we knew one thing, we needed to know that it was a special. So we found that tobacco with David Perez. He bought it, Adelfo bought it, and it took us almost 3.5 years since he bought it to be able to come up with a blend. One of the most difficult projects we have, and we're extremely happy for that project. So it's about a dream, and it's about all of the things that we want to do. And he's a dreamer. He's just a dreamer. If he cash shot in your dream, and with me, I've been very happy about how he cash out with our dream. Man, he makes it his own.
Yeah, I think that's what's I think right there, like what I was talking about earlier when I said that he has this kind of the signature flavor, and like you said, he puts his mark on it. But I think what's really been exciting with all these projects that you've done, even going back to like the H up in Nicaraguan, which is one of my favorite cigars as well, um, is that I it really feels like, considering how well the blends have come out, it really feels like he's taking the idea of this stewardship just as serious as you. Um, you're on mute now, Rafael,
I apologize. I did it for
for the cough. Gotcha.
the
Yeah, no
cough, yeah,
worries.
and then I left it there. So I with that particular one, that was before I joined Altadis, and I went to Javier Estades, and I said, I have these amazing blends from Boutique Blends, and the FDA is coming. I won't be able to do it. So we did 3 projects: the Ed Shortman, Maria Fernandez, the Montecristo, the Romeo 504, Romeo by Romeo and Juliet 504, which is the Nicaragua um, um, the area code, and then we did the Gisper in Maine. So we did those 3. Obviously, uh, the 45% of all the sale of the Shortman is still with that particular, and that was fun because they let me come out with the colors, which no one like, including AJ, blue things. I'm a very blue guy. I don't do
Yeah.
my brands, which I started now with La Boheme is other, but it was a dream come true, that particular one.
Um, just to go back to this cigar, the Espiritu number 3, I think there's a couple of interesting tidbits about this, and I learned this about you from you know, just I think it was an interview maybe a year ago or so, or like right when the cigar was released. So we call the wrapper on this Mexican San Andreas, which is actually, we know it as San Andreas, but the company that first referred Mexican wrapper as San Andreas was your brand.
Exactly, exactly. As you know, we own in United States the Te Amo brand. It was a brand distributed first by Mexico and then by Altadis, and eventually bought it from the Turrens, and we own the brand. We just recently released a new one, and the company, Mexico had a great tequilas, and people thought it was not about quality and things like that, and they just wanted to do as a marketing purpose, come on with San Andres.
Mhm.
So the latest one I put the original San Andres cigar and in Te Amo. And also very interesting thing, the number one Vitola in United States these days, if not almost the world, is the Toro size. Because that
Yeah.
doesn't come from the Cuban Vitolero. Cuba had no Toros. and I had the Robusto, the Churchill, the Torpedo, and this and this, but never a Toro. That was not a size. And we did it. And we did Toro because, as you know, the Te Amo had a bull outside. I took it away because, it's a little bit difficult these days with the bull five and what have you, being politically correct. But I added the sun, the valley, and that's what it ended up coming.
Yeah, I think that was also in some reading I was doing, kind of preparing for the show too, was the Toro was also originated by Tealma. So I think it's interesting how these these things that have become such a staple in humidors, like you mentioned, the Toro is the number one size in the world, or at least the
Right.
United States at the very
Yeah. Maybe in
um
the world, but I don't have that data yet.
yeah. And it's almost I've described this before. The Toro I prefer smaller Vitolas. That's just me personally. I like Robustos and
Right.
Coronas. But the Toro is almost the perfect size cigar.
I think so.
It's not too big. It's not too small. It's a really lengthy smoke. You know, it gives enough time to enjoy it. Like
To
it's one of
develop,
those,
right?
yeah, for people who like a more open draw, it's perfect. People who like a closed draw, it's not too big, right? So like,
Absolutely.
and I think that that's what's really unique about that particular Vitola is because
Right.
it just kind of fits, even though it's on the larger size, it kind of still
Right.
fits in the middle somewhere,
Right.
which is
No,
really
no,
neat.
and that's the difference from the Churchill, right? That it takes a long time to develop the third
Right.
part. In the Toro happens faster. In the Robusto, depending the Robusto, is just happen or not happen. Some might be just a little bit, just because there's so little. Sometimes you go from one to the next very fast, and third is very difficult. But I think the Toro is a perfect size, and now we have it. Before it was 50, then lately got 54, 55, and they're all a bunch of different toros they say. But the original one, I believe, it was 60 by 50.
Hmm. What, Rafael? I don't know if I've ever asked you this question. What is your favorite Vitola? What do you prefer?
Oh wow. My 54 by 6 at the moment is my favorite Vitola. I have evolved. I had started with 52 by 6, then I went to the Coronas, then I went to the Lanceros, and then I went to the 60 for a little bit. Oliveros had a 60 and a 63, and now I'm a little bit more traditional. So right now, I will say the Toro again.
Yeah, Toro. Okay. Uh, the I want to go back to the Espiritu number two for just a second because I think what's really interesting. You mentioned the colors, and now Espiritu number one, very vibrant, beautiful colors. I love that dark blue that's
Right,
also on the Espiritu number three, and you do it on the Espiritu number two, but it goes absolutely perfectly
yeah,
too. Because of the colors of the Brazilian flag are meshed in with this. I mean, it's
correct,
a really
correct.
really, really gorgeous take with it. Um, Brazil, I think, is one of those countries that is really underrated. And when I say that, I know it's widely used, so it's not like one of those things like Bear. What are you talking about? Brazil is tobacco is all over the place. It
It's not very
is.
well known. Not a very well known.
I think yeah, because I think to our point about Mexico, like I think when people think Maduro, they think broadleaf, they
Yeah.
think Mexican San Andreas, and I think way down the list, if people start listing off stuff, Brazilian Arapiraca and things like that kind of get thrown
Correct.
in
So
there.
and there are many companies, the CAO and some others that use that tobacco.
Of course.
That they did in Brazil. They did a lot of machine made cigars. Okay,
Hmm.
and so that became for a least expensive cigar, and it wasn't considered a top-notch cigar. And it wasn't until probably the boom, everybody started going tobacco from everywhere because there's no tobacco, and that's where some of this tobacco starting coming about. But amazing flavors, Arapiraca, amazing flavor. And some of the others, Brazil is depending on the area. It has some rich history. Same with Mexico. When you go there, Valle San Andres, just an amazing. I was just there in Mexico the other day. Just some amazing valleys there, and some rich soil, and the sea breeze just enhances all of these elements that brings an amazing tobacco. And then the difficulty is to blend it based on what you're doing. And then we play a lot with the fermentation. And that's very, very important.
I think that's a stage that a lot of people overlook. I think, you know, I think we've come to understand what fermentation obviously is and does to
Yeah.
tobacco.
Yeah.
But, as a whole, I think it kind of, even the tobacco nerds like myself, I think a lot of people stop at the blend and its
Yeah.
makeup.
And we
Um,
wouldn't be able to do a good blend if the tobacco was well constructed. And so the tobacco has two things from my point of view. This is my personal point of view. So you get the technical components and the subjective component. The technical component has to be well rolled, well made. The wrapper has to be fantastic, and then and a well fermented, well aged, and a well positioned the tobacco. And then the other part, you may like it or not,
mhm.
because it's all very intrusive. But people see the blending and things, and they don't know the amount of work that went before. From This is a Jalapa trip that we were doing. We were looking at Jalapa wrapper. That's probably not going to come into the next 9 to 10 years, and we were to see how is it growing today. So it is a lot goes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's also you got to take into account too. So, like for instance, like on the Spiritu number one, you all chose not to disclose the type of Nicaraguan tobacco, but
Right.
it's Nicaraguan Puro, right?
Yeah.
And and I'm not here to try to get information out of you, Raphael, especially, but it's not just the regions of tobacco; it's also the fermentation that goes
The
into it.
fermentation and the blending. So
Um,
sometimes, or most of the time, we don't disclose the type of tobacco because we have done in the past, and then we start getting calls from our suppliers that everybody is looking at that, the type of tobacco, the type of thing, and we just don't do it. It's like asking, sometimes we do, but for example, what it was important in the Montecristo M was that wrapper, special wrapper. So that we disclose where it comes from, Ecuador, Connecticut, age over 20 some years. But in the others, it's Nicaragua, and we just don't, because it happened before. We go and the tobacco is exhausted, no more. And it is a big problem when we bring something that's successful and we don't have any more tobacco. That's why AJ, any project that we do has enough tobacco to make sure that is we can keep for 3 years, and that consistency can only be done when you have an amazing inventory of tobacco.
so like when so just shifting gears here, so like with the because I know you had a very similar approach with the Quattro project,
Right, right,
particularly the success that you had with the Quattro Nicaraguan. Um, that to me, and you know how much I really love that blend. That to me was a really different than anything that you had ever done,
right.
up until that point. Okay. Um, because I mean, from where I grew up with you, smoking aging room and stuff like that, like I remember the Fortissimo, which is still one of
Right.
my all-time favorite cigars that you've ever made.
So I had it the other
Um,
day, and I think I have some cigar right here from right now. When we released it was 14 years ago. Tobacco
mhm.
now is about 18. No?
Oh, it's goodness. Even like Swag and a couple of and you mentioned the Oliveros and stuff like that. These were like particular aging room had these very elegant, nuanced flavors that were, I think, honestly, Raphael, before its time. Like I think for right now is this very interesting time in our industry where nuance
Right,
isn't isn't tossed into the pile of not flavorful enough
right,
or even dull or
right,
anything like that. Because for a while, during that time that you really rose to popularity, I think you were doing at a very challenging time because you were releasing these blends, like I said, that were very nuanced and elegant, as opposed to what the industry was craving at that time was like power and
Right.
spice. And then here you come 10 years later with the Quattro Nicaraguan, and you're like, hey, I can do power too. And I think that was a really interesting move by you, but I think it was also, I think it was very fitting, was
Yeah.
to show like,
It represents, my journey, my own personal journey in the flavors and aromas and blending. The first one that we got, the F55, by the way, the M356 got the number 12 and the number 9, Cigar Aficionado, and put us on the map. Then the following year, the Quattro F55 and F55. And by the way, when I first sold that to a store, Montecristo, Chicago, Casa de Montecristo, they returned it. They returned it. They said the cigar was not good, and they returned it. And I remember that blend. I did it originally for, remember, Kurt in the AC. Had a brand called AC, part of the part of
Zycar.
the
Yeah.
lighter.
Zycars, yeah.
Excuse me. And I showed him that blend. He liked it, and then he asked me for some cigar. I sent him a few cigars, and he said it was terrible. Terrible was the nicer thing there was, and that he called it. And then it happened with Montecristo, Chicago, and my partners, Hank, Hoshi, they didn't want to do it. Two people, good accounts, and they sent it back. And I said, listen, I believe on it, and that's when I realized that I needed to take a stand, not make cigar for other people, just make cigar for me. Because at the end of the day, if it didn't sell, I was going to make a lot of cigar. And it wasn't until that day that my life changed and the things upset it, I was accepted. And that was my beginning of the thing. So our slogan of Boutique Blend was a laboratory of ideas. We'll get a small blends. We start making it until they finish, and then we went with that. And the other day we were doing La Boheme. We just released the information, starting to get to the stores. And I went to a store where I bought some La Boheme from 1914, and I bought some aging room, which I have it here, aging room fortissimo. And so I started playing with all of these things and allow my imagination, and not all the projects work out, but most of them, thanks God, the bad ones you don't get to try it. We do. Like I had an aging room Maduro that just didn't sell, and I did smoke a lot of those. But that's what it is.
I think more and more because I hear definitely different schools of thought about when, with different people who blend cigars and stuff in this industry. And then there's folks who, like to your point, you said, I'm going to make cigars for me. And I've heard other folks say that too. But I think it comes around to this. And Steve Saka has said it several times. He says if you try to make cigars for everybody, then you're going to make cigars for nobody.
Exactly.
And when you and I think that in a roundabout way, it's basically the same thing
Absolutely.
what you're saying, which is, you know, you you weren't going to compromise or bend to someone's particular taste because at the end of it's all subjective.
Right.
Um,
And that had to do a little bit with we learn from our children, we try to educate our children, and then we learn from them. It's a vicious circle. And I remember a stepson that is Marcos, it goes now by Infamous, and then he's a Grammy winner and all this thing. And I remember when he was 15-year-old, I don't remember when was it this, and he got his first job, an only job, um, putting DJing in a disco, to play disco music in an ice skating ring, right?
mhm.
So he started to play at 2 o'clock. I started to play at 2. I took him at 12. He called me like at 1:15. I had not even started. And I say, please pick me up. His mother was in the hospital, so I go and pick him up. And he said, I quit. And I said, well, what do you quit? I said because they wanted me to play. At the time, he was in hip hop. He wasn't even called hip hop. He was rapper and all these things. They wanted me to play disco, and I'm not gonna compromise my art. And I like got so upset. You what art? You're a freaking 50-year-old. You need to know what I get. But I said no. I'm not gonna, compromise. And and for me, in an important way, was sometimes looking for his children, right? Point of view,
Mhm.
he has his art, and he did not want it. That doesn't mean that everything is going to come out right, which he has been amazing in terms of Carter 3, Carter 4, all the Carters for Lil Wayne and Bruno Mars, I Want to Be a Billionaire, and all these amazing producing records or writing. But I think it happened to be that he didn't want to compromise. So I think he got to the point that I did not want to compromise, and I kudos to the Altadis team because I never told what cigar. No one in my office, especially Javier and the management, no one tries the cigar until it's coming out, and it is my decision. This is what I believe. And everybody at the factory told me, "Are you crazy? You want to take all that responsibility?" I said, "Listen, I've been doing it for a long time.
Mhm.
Might as well continue." So thanks God we have been successful. I'm sure sometimes it's not going to be because that's life.
Yeah. It's interesting the lessons that we learn from our children. My children are very young. They still teach me things,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and I mean, there you are, your stepson at 15 had a lesson that you took, later on in life too. So I think, I mean, that's there. Those are some beautiful words of wisdom there, Raphael, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
um, so I wanted to move on to our one of our first fun segments of the evening, and then we're going to come
Beautiful.
back to a couple of other things. And for our audience, I just want to again thank Raphael for being here. He's had an exhausting travel schedule, and came home a little under the weather, and still insisted on doing the show. So really want to thank you, Raphael, once again. But
Well, I've been here, as you know, my water, all the medicine, But for me, it was very important because I made a commitment with you, and I know you make this arrangement, and it's always an amazing time with you. Thank you.
thank you. So let's before I kind of go into the segment real quick, just want to revisit a little bit of history. When did you come to this country again?
In 1980, so there was a Maria Botley, so I
Oh,
got May 31st of 1980. That's when I got to Key West.
so you were on one of the first waves, right? Because it started in April and
Yeah,
then
and I
till
got
October.
May 31st. Yeah,
Okay. So so that takes us into our United Cigar presidential trivia segment. So you're ready to live the United lifestyle? Launch your palate,
Abs-
voyage with United Cigars. You can celebrate over
absolutely.
250 years of excellence with the Red Anchor or experience elegance with La Giana Havana. Rekindle the spirit of 1776 and light up the skies with a firecracker. Then celebrate honor, pride, and accomplishment with a gold star. Or jet set the globe and capture luxury with Atabey, Byron, Alfonso, or Bandolero. Don't just smoke. Smoke United. United Cigars since 1901. United we smoke. So Raphael, this has become a really fun segment over the years that we've done in our partnership with United, and I thought this would be because I knew the answer, but I wanted to use that factoid to kind of spearhead us um, into this segment, which we're going to be talking about the recently late Jimmy Carter, who passed away just a few days ago. It was during his presidency that was at the end of his presidency where
I came in.
you came to this country. Um, and some of these I've got a couple of true false, and I have a couple of and one multiple choice questions. And they're all about Jimmy
Okay.
Carter. So, um, now I everyone knows you as a your with your medical background and knows you as a musician. But are you a sports fan at all?
Not as much, but I will try to do my best. I try to learn with the kids, and so I can talk for something on the weekends with my neighbors. And I got a lot of sport fan here. Will met a couple of my neighbors. which are football agent or NFL coaches, and so I get a lot of people that are getting into interest, like Pacheco. He played with the Kansas City, and I used to do these talks to them to really appreciate, because these are kids that going to make a lot of money, and they just never felt that before. So I do to get them talks, and I try to learn who the heck is he and how is he doing. So some of them I may have, but we'll do it. We'll be fun.
Okay. Well, it's a very simple question. So true. This is true or false. True or false? Was President Jimmy Carter a baseball fan? True or false?
I would say yes.
Yeah, very true, actually. So he used to like after his duties on his farm, he actually interfered with Carter in baseball because he was working on the farm so much. But he was a lifelong fan of the Atlanta Braves once they moved from
Yes.
Milwaukee down to Atlanta, and um the team moved down there in '66. And as governor of Georgia, he actually got to shake Hank Aaron's hand the day he broke the National League record for most home runs.
Oh, wow.
And so he actually threw the ceremonial first pitch in 1995, the last time that the Braves won, excuse me, the second to last time that the Braves won the World Series. So that was
That's
pretty good
very
for him.
interesting. So we got it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Um, but this one's a little bit more closer to heart here, Raphael. So we're going to talk about Jimmy Carter and music. So, true or false? Um, President Carter wanted to create an atmosphere of not just of seriousness, but also fun inside the White House. So when he became president, he install a hi-fi sound system to play classical music for 12 hours a day throughout the White House? Was this
Oh,
true or
well, that
false?
sounds like it is not true, but knowing how this guy was, and maybe yes.
It was true. It was true.
Yeah,
So we're gonna get into his musical taste here in a second, but he did. He wanted to create an atmosphere of seriousness, but also at the same time have people relax. And he thought that classical music was the ticket to that. And although he wasn't the biggest fan of classical music, he thought that that was the most universal music. But he wanted it. So 12 hours a day after the system was installed, the White House played classical music throughout the West
that's
Wing and and other places for visitors to hear.
That's
So,
pretty cool. I did not know about that, but knowing what I know about him, it sounds like something he will do, because he was a man. Unfortunately, you were against or in favor of his mandate, but he was definitely, all we can say, he was a very good man. Whether you agree with no politics, especially how we run the country, but hey, he was a very good man. Yeah, music is part of life.
mhm.
Absolutely.
All right. So he had a number of musical talents actually campaign for him in 1976 when he won the presidency. Um, so I'm going to get this last question's multiple choice, Raphael. So which musical groups slash artists did not campaign for Jimmy Carter in 1976? A, the Allman Brothers, B, Leonard Skinner, C, Willie Nelson, or D, B.B. King?
Wow. Because definitely,
Who
you
did
know,
not campaign for him?
Willie Nelson was a country guy, right?
Yeah.
Leonard Skinner, for sure. I don't think so. So I will go with Leonard Skinner.
This list blew me away,
So
Raphael.
he did go with him.
Yeah, so actually the answer is BB King. BB King's the only artist that did not campaign for him in this list. But
Wow.
it goes beyond this. So John Denver, Willie Nelson, Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Emmylou Harris, Johnny Cash all campaigned for Jimmy Carter
Wow.
during the 1976 campaign. Here's the mind-blowing fact that'll just blow your mind too, because like you said, um, it seems weird. Okay, so he's from Georgia. You're thinking, okay, country, that makes a little sense and everything.
Yeah.
But when you think about the person and you think about Jimmy Carter, this very put together, he looks like a straight shooter and very straight laced, everything. One of his very best friends throughout his life was Willie Nelson.
Wow. Well, Willie wouldn't surprise me because I worked with a friend of him. Um, what was his name? Well, I forgot his name now from Texas. I forgot his name. They make country music, and he spoke all the time. He was a very good friend of Willie Nelson, and Willie Nelson was Kinky Friedman, by the way, Kinky
Yeah,
Friedman.
Kinky
And
Friedman. Yeah,
Kinky was a very good friend of. We spent a lot of time with Alok, Willie Nelson a lot, and he will talk a lot about the relationship of him with Willie Nelson, and this guy was and a spectacular guy. So it wouldn't surprise me.
yeah. It they don't seem like they go together for sure, but
Right,
at the same time,
right.
it's now if you said that his brother Billy Carter and Willie Nelson were friends, that's a little bit more believable. But Jimmy
Right.
and Willie was a little bit a little bit more interesting. Um, but yeah, I think
That's
it,
interesting, man.
yeah, it's actually so there, celebrities have gotten we think of celebrities getting involved in politics as a very new thing, but
In knowing.
it was very much a known quantity going back for a very long time. Um, it just, politics I don't think were as polarizing as it is today.
Oh,
So
no, it's different, different.
but I mean, what a cast of characters: Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, Willie Nelson, Johnny
Unbelievable.
Cash. Yeah, just some crazy people. And in 1980, when he ran for re-election and lost to Ronald Reagan, Aerosmith also played on
No
the campaign.
kidding.
Yeah, so I mean, interesting group of people to cast their musical talents for
Yeah,
Jimmy Carter.
yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So that was our presidential trivia segment. Ready to live a United lifestyle? Launch your palate voyage
Let's
with
do that.
United Cigars. You can celebrate over 250 years of excellence with the Red Anchor, or experience elegance with La Gianna Havana. Rekindle the spirit of 1776 and light up the skies with a firecracker, then celebrate honor, pride, and accomplishment with a gold star. Or jet set, globe, and capture luxury with Atabey, Byron, Alfonso, and Bandolero. Don't just smoke, smoke United. United Cigars since 1901. United we smoke. So, um, Rafael, I wanted to go back to a couple of these, just a couple of these items. So, I thought this week was really interesting. The fact that you and I were going to talk, because we you kind of mentioned it a second ago. Some really great reports coming down for the industry. The FDA loses its appeal against the premium cigar industry. So the decision by Judge Mehta is upheld in the appellate court, and then subsequently the FDA announces that they are essentially, I'm going to summarize it. They're going to put their flavored cigar ban
Yeah,
on the back burner, right?
yeah,
So these are two huge victories for the premium cigar industry. This is what this the FDA's deeming rules in 2015 sent the entire industry into a frenzy, yourself included. You
yeah.
decided to make some
Everybody,
different
everybody.
changes and moves, and that's what led to this wonderful partnership at
Absolutely.
Altadis USA. So, um, you know, looking back, I don't think that you would say that it was a poor decision. But what does with these decisions coming down in the industry's favor now, how looking back, how does that either reinforce the decisions that you made at the time? How's that reinforce the decisions you made at the time?
Well, absolutely. Well, we still don't know if they're going to appeal or not to Supreme Court. So with these people, you never know.
Sure.
Hopefully not. There have been a change of administration, a change of view. But anyway, you never know. However, no, once you get a taste of blending or introducing Montecristo, Romeo and Juliet, man, they had to
Yeah.
get me out. I started this week working in the 185 man, for 5 years from now. And we started working on the blend. And things like that. So it's an amazing opportunity. So I know, no, I love it here. I work hard. It's very difficult. I have a family that is difficult, but I have an opportunity work with amazing team, both our company here, both our factories in Dominican Republic, both our factory in Honduras, and then our partners in Nicaragua, Plasencia, and AJ, and in Mexico, the Terrain. So this is a very relationship-driven business, and we are extremely happy of how's it going.
You know, you have to think about like you started with boutique blends, and you come to this decision we talked about a few minutes ago about like I'm not going to make cigars for anybody else. I'm making cigars
Right.
for me. And then time and everything kind of leads you to this great point. Let's take the stewardship of these legacy historical brands out of the conversation for just a second.
Right.
You just mentioned it, the ability to now you're working with multiple factories, and you're working with folks like AJ, Nestor Plasencia, the Turrent family. To say nothing of the individuals, the maestros there as well too. Like to say, and in the three prominent cigar making countries as well. So you have all of these resources at your disposal. I mean, it has to. I mean, when you wake up in the morning, I mean, it has to. I mean, your creative juices have to already be just cranked to 10 at that point.
Oh, absolutely. It's just an amazing opportunity because I dream it and we make it, right? And we go and we look for the tobaccos and we look for the things. And so it's a big responsibility, but one that they have allowed me to do this journey, one that I love it and I take it serious. So that's why I work so hard. And for me, talking about this is just amazing. When you told me about doing this event, and I said, fantastic, I'm in Nicaragua, coming Saturday, we can do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I felt so bad. I never called you, said, we're not going to do it. We feel responsible for not doing what we're doing, but taking the word out to people that perhaps doesn't know what we're doing, because, it's we're not like a boutique type of thing. I am, but not big companies. And so we constantly love the opportunity to talk to people about what we do. And so it's not like, oh, okay, we can make Romeo. It's just like anything. No, no, no. There's a lot of work that goes into this,
Mhm. I so looking, we're gonna wrap up our show with a few fun questions here in just a minute, Rafael. But before we start that, I wanted to go back to this because you've used that classification upon yourself several times in previous interviews and as well as tonight. Call yourself a dreamer,
Right.
and sometimes dreams don't come true. And
Hong Kong.
is there is there and you don't have to necessarily go into too much detail, but is there still, I know you've got a lot left in the tank, so it's not like you've like we're anywhere near the end of the greatness of Rafael Nodal, but is there a white whale that you've tried to tackle, like a blend or a tobacco or a dream that you've been chasing for a long time that
Yeah.
just hasn't come out right for you? Have you
Yeah,
had that experience?
we work for a long time trying to do some things. Sometimes I do some work, but we do take a lot of time to be able to do that, like in Montecristo at 180. That was a challenging thing because the 75 was very successful, right? So you wanted to get a cigar. I wanted to have a little bit stronger than this with tobaccos that I really don't have at the time with the new time, but I wanted some of the flavors and little journey of that. And it was bad. We were trying to reduce it before to have like full year of thing, because we made more cigars the first time, and we just wasn't. We didn't. We couldn't do it. The Montecristo M was another example. Have that A had that wrapper for 3.5 years, and we were not able to release it to December last year. Um, it was a very difficult thing to come out with the blend. So we even say if we cannot do it, we prefer not to do something that we know is not good. But we wanted a Connecticut, Ecuador, aged for 20 plus years. That it was medium in flavors and structure and body. And And that took us a long time because I had never worked with that. Ella had never worked with that. And we can
Mhm.
tell you that change and that was challenging. But one thing that I know for sure, because it happened in my life before, we did not give up. And we were not able to do it 2 years ago, but we certainly did it at the end of this last year. So that's it happens all the time.
Yeah, I have to imagine that that is not just challenging for someone like you, because again, you've lived such a rich and blessed life that you talked about, and you were talking about how like you've been able to have your dreams come true in a lot of different ways and stuff. That has to be, uh, you know, especially um especially challenging. I mean, would you almost say have you ever been, yeah, I'll just go ahead and ask it. Have you ever been discouraged?
Oh yeah,
Has
immediately. Let's say
Okay.
that it's to get a shock of this. I'll give you an example. We did a Romeo. Uh, Romeo, one of the first projects that I did, Romeo by Romeo Juliet Sagandres, right? That was stronger than everything else we did, and it just didn't
Yeah.
sell very well. It was one of my first projects here. I had done
Yeah.
it. I have done it for I developed a blend for what we did later called Onyx Bold, Nicaragua.
Yeah. Okay.
We post that aside, the one in Romeo, and did that. I get the blame, it was a very strong blend, but that was my intention. But it did happen. And then another important project that we did, it was the Romeo by Romeo Juliet Eternal.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah.
from Plasencia, we were doing on the pandemic. And when I couldn't fly to the factory, so Nestor was coming all the time, Nestor Andres, and we got the blend, fantastic. The cigar come to our warehouse and just didn't burn. And I felt bad because I had not been coming to the hospital, to the factory, but I just couldn't go. And they came here, and in fact, they have been used for a different binder. And we had an amazing arrangement for the Valentine's Day in February.
Hmm.
Casa de Montecristo, we're doing this advertising and all that, and just didn't work out. And I said no. I asked Javier whether it was okay to say no. I said, whatever you think. And we didn't release that cigar. We started a production again with the correct wrapper binder, and we did that many, many, many months later. And I felt bad because my people from the company have already put a lot of emphasis in the marketing and everything else. But
Hmm.
we make the decision that we just did not want it. We can make mistakes, but I think they might be good, and then they're not. Okay, but if I think that it's not good, we were not going to do it, and
Hmm.
we learned from that, and not easy because of the company. We had an amazing campaign of marketing and this and that, and we just couldn't do it. And I think it's important to be honest with the consumer. And this company allowed me to take decision like that. That cost a lot of money, by the way, you
Yeah. Of
know. But
course.
they had allowed me to do that. We also got some good success, which allowed me to be a little bit more, difficult. But we will never compromise. The same thing that I learned from my son when he was 15. He will never compromise the
There you go.
art.
I think that's important, worthwhile pointing out. Like, well, Montecristo has been an incredible success since you've been there. The Nicaragua, the anniversary of 1935, the Diamante, the new Trinidad. This, like you said, it was a dormant brand. It was a brand that
Right,
cigar lovers and historians like myself were clamoring for something new from
right.
this brand, and you delivered with that. The H. Upman, the 175, the 180th, incredible cigars. The H. Upman in Nicaragua, also incredible. There's all these these incredible brands that you talked about. I don't know what it is about Onyx. I don't know why it doesn't seem to grab the public's attention.
It's difficult
But
to
that
revive a
that was
dead
a
body.
good cigar. The
Yeah, but
Romeo
it's
by
difficult.
Romeo was Nes Andres. That was fantastic.
But the people that smoke Romeo wouldn't smoke that type of cigar, you know?
Yeah, it
They're
was.
different flavor and profile. Or, we did some others subsequent to that. The Montecristo 1935 Doble Diamante, that was a challenging one because we started from the point of view that we wanted to do a very expensive cigar. So, I mean, there was 100 in the market, there was
Hmm.
300, things like that. And we wanted to do that. So, our challenge for me is I wanted to make it a special cigar. If I believe someone is going to pay $150 cigar, it has to be a very good one with very amazing tobaccos and that been aged for a long time and very unique, and you cannot repeat that. You just cannot
Yeah.
repeat that. So it was challenging because we just did not want to make another cigar. We wanted to make a special cigar. So when we got the 90, I don't know, 495 rating, 95 rating, oh my God, I wanted to die because that was, and then we say, hopefully it's not going to be on the top of the year because we have no more cigars. So there's all these mix of emotion that happen.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
you know,
that's got to be such that's something that I think that's worthy of note. I think it had to be so challenging because we talked very earlier in the show when we were talking about how you have to when you were creating these new brands like the Reserva Real Nicaragua, the Trinidad, you have to make sure that there's at least 3 or 4 years of tobacco
yeah,
to meet the supply and
yeah,
demand that you guys are projecting out of it. And then now you have to shift the mindset to say, okay, we have to make something really special that's one of a kind. And so you have to, that's a completely different mindset.
that's all.
And,
Completely,
and,
completely.
but I think what's really worthwhile pointing out is how successful it really was. Because, um, the Doble Diamante and your Sonata came out around the same time. And I think that there could not have been a better, I know they're completely different cigars, completely different projects,
Right,
but I don't think there could have been a better 1-2 punch for Altadis
right,
because I think these sequels, if you will, because that's what they are, these sequels to these very successful brands, um, were incredibly different.
right.
The word that you and every other cigar maker hates, very unique.
Yeah,
And but still encapsulated the identity of the
predecessor,
original.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
that is a very important one. That's a very important one, and we always look in the 19 the sonata was an interesting one. I've done the 1935, and for the many years I refused to do the next one, right? Because once something is successful, what do you want to do? So it has to be a different cigar, it has to be different things, because otherwise, and the challenge is, I think we have handled it good, that if we do 20 some projects, which we do sometimes more, for the different channels, the Casa Montecristo, JR, Alter, JR, and then for our stores, for Altadis, and we have a lot of 20 projects a year. You cannot repeat the same thing. They all have to be different. And
Mhm.
so when they're successful, it's, no one remember the Nicaragua, then Sonata would have been better. And we're coming with a different one, and they in room we're trying. So the challenge is to position that.
Okay.
So that's where we are. We're trying. It's very difficult, and all I hope is to make it sometimes, not all the time,
Mhm.
sometimes.
Definitely. Well, Raphael, we got our last four fun segments to wrap up our evening.
Excellent.
Again, can't thank you enough for being a trooper tonight. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Really enjoyed our conversation
Thank you very
about
much. Always,
Trinidad
always enjoy.
and the just all the amazing creations and job that you're doing as a steward of these historical brands and what you do at Altus. It's just fantastic. So let's
Thank
go
you.
ahead and get things off with our this or that segment, which is our brought to you by Artista Cigars, which is truly the last hidden gem of the Dominican Republic. With nearly 70 years of rolling cigars, this family behind Artista believes in honoring their long-held traditions of handmade artistry. Artista's blends include factory exclusive tobaccos and front marks for every single budget. In fact, Artista Cigars has one of the most varied portfolios on the market today. That's something for everyone at Artista. Now, if you're like me and you can never decide what to smoke, Artista is a really good breath of fresh air because I can literally pick something from any box from Artista has to offer, and I know I'm going to get something special, which is really great. So, this is kind of a rapid fire segment, Raphael. So I have a series of questions. It's this or that. You have to pick one or the other, right? Makes it easy. So I know these first couple have to do with food, and I know you're a big foodie. We
Kind of.
got a little bit, just a little bit. So German or Italian deli meats.
Oh, no, no. For me, it's Italian element.
Okay. Do you have a favorite? Is it like prosciutto or like what do you like?
Bologna.
Bologna. Okay.
Yeah. At the moment.
At the moment. All right. So let's move over to cheese. Uh these are two different, very different types of cheeses. So
Right.
would you prefer a brie or manchego?
Manchego, I eat a lot, unfortunately. I eat a lot because of the Spanish. Yeah, so manchego.
I love manchego. I am a big brie fan. My 9-year-old son is a huge brie fanatic.
Oh,
I
wow.
He even eats the rind. Like he just devours that stuff. And I'm like, man, um, it definitely can get expensive, but it's pretty cool when
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
son has a
absolutely.
pretty it's a pretty refined
Developing his
taste.
palate. That's
Yes,
great.
exactly. So, all right, moving over to wine, which I know is a something of favorite of yours as well too. But I know you really like champagne. But would you rather have champagne or red wine?
A different type of the moment. Yeah, I normally start with champagne, white wine, and then I go with red wine. But if I only have one to choose in the morning, I will go champagne. At night, if I only have one to choose, I will go, or afternoon, I will go with red wine. That's amazing.
What type of red wine do you like? Or do you like something like on the lighter side, like a Pinot or Merlot, or do
No,
you like something that
I like fuller wine. So
like some
I do
Cab?
a lot from La Rioja.
Oh
I
yeah.
mostly Spanish wine from La Rioja, or some Italian, which I love Italy. So I do a lot of Italian wine. Some French, although they can get very expensive. At least some of the well-known names.
Yeah.
And finally Napa.
Yeah. One of my favorite Spanish wines is Grenache.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
grape, I love it. It's a wonderful, wonderful.
It's very
There
rich and then very flavorful.
Yes, there was this label that I was particularly fond of in the early 2000s. It's called Grenache de Fuego, and I
Yeah,
haven't
I
found
know
it
it.
in a long. Oh, you know it? Okay, I haven't
Yeah.
found it in a while. But the 2006 vintage in particular was a really big favorite of mine. That was a
I'm
really
going to
good year.
send you a link where I buy the Spanish wine over the internet. It is very close to here in Aventura from my a friend of mine, and he's very heavy in Spanish wine.
Okay,
So I will send it to you to see if you can
beautiful,
find it. You can do it on the
beautiful,
internet. It's pretty cool.
beautiful. Okay. We talked about your musical background, and
Right.
so this is. I know you love to play piano. We see your grand in the background there.
I see.
Uh,
Yes.
but I want to take go back to listening to music. So, would you
Right.
rather listen to a piece of music that's dominated by strings or dominated by brass?
So I play violin for a long time since I was 6,
Hmm.
and then when I got to New York, there was nothing. There was no violin. The regular high school that I started going. So before I started giving classes from that high school, and we started a string one, the only thing was a concert band, which is I play a lot there because the only thing I could play was timpani, and I traveled with them. So I became fond of that because that's the type of music that in Cuba, in the municipal areas, like little towns, they would play on the weekends and what have you,
Hmm.
and it's sometimes smarter. So I think I prefer to listen to strings. If I have my choice, a string is mine.
Okay. Um, so this one might be a hard one for you to answer, but I thought it'd be a fun one too. Would you rather, what would be more difficult, learning to play a brand new instrument or go back to when you first started blending cigars? So learning a new instrument or blending cigars, what's more difficult?
I think right now I've learned a lot that is a little bit easier to do that. As a matter of fact, the other day, Abe had an event in his store. His daughter sent me, "Hey, want to play violin?" Send me some of the music. I had to tell you, I sent it to Abe and said, "Abe, there's no way that I can play this in the next 3 or 4 years. Practice every day." But she at the event she played, and I had just gotten my violin out of the case. I got it tuned up, and I went to the shop to make sure everything was fine, and it was good playing. I improvised a little bit, but I don't think I can do it. It's another, drum has been a dream of mine, or guitar has been a dream of mine. I'm not sure that I can do
Oh,
it.
oh my
I'm not
gosh.
sure I can do it.
Um, man, I played the cello as a
Right.
child. Um, um, and that's a stretch, Raphael. I wasn't very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I played bass clarinet for a couple years too. So got to experience both sides of the symphony orchestra, from strings to woodwinds. Um, the one thing that I found out for myself is I didn't love it.
Right.
And I think like anything else in life, I think you have to love something in order
You
to
have
get
to
good at
love it. You have to love it. And I love music, but it was very difficult because I got on the Three Wise Kings Day when I was 5 years, they gave me a drum. And I asked my mother to take me the following year to School of Music. And they took me and they said, drums, that's a capital instrument. You need to play violin, which is a floreto rayado from
it.
Russia. And my mom said, you sure? And I said, yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. I mean, I was freaking 6 years old. Are you need to finish? Yeah. Yeah, man, my mom will make me practice with her belt. And so I had to finish. It was bad, but I music has always something to do with my life. I don't remember a moment that there's no music surrounding us, and that's when there's a piano. I sit here at night, and I get at the piano. I start playing, improvise, composing some of my own tunes, and for me, that's part of my life.
Does it like do you feel like it helps you in like the rest of your
Oh,
the rest of your life and stuff?
oh,
Like,
oh. That's just no doubt about it. I Let me see. I mean, if I can take it there. Do you mind? I can play you a little bit.
sure. Oh God, that'd be wonderful.
Like so I sit here at night, and it's a little more difficult. I live in an apartment now. My wife makes a lot of she threatens me to leave me here. But piano for me is one. Let me see if I can get the piano here. Let me get the key. Let me see if I can get some areas to support the piano. Hold on. I mean the camera.
Oh wow, this is wonderful. My goodness, what a
Yeah, yeah,
treat!
yeah.
What a treat! Oh my gosh,
Let me
this is
see if it shows here. A little bit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and let me put it here. Okay. Okay. So a little something for I composed to my wife when I met her. And then I got her the piano, and then she said, "You need to go." I said, "I need to compose you something," and she did so. Little short
Hmm.
something that I composed for my wife when I met her.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so the last thing, because I know our readers will get, or our viewers will go to sleep, is something a little bit more modern. Um,
Rafael, that was
I hope
wonderful.
that our people didn't go to sleep, but at least
No,
it was done with a lot of love.
no, I want to. Yeah, thank you. That was what an honor. What an honor, Rafael. That was wonderful. I I I I, I want to for our listeners. I want to just implore. Just I want to create a visual for people who are going to be listening later on podcasts. Like the audio, unfortunately, is not studio quality.
Right,
But
right.
what I would like to just from what I was watching, Rafael, and I'm in just in awe of just watching your hands and the it's just the way that they flowed. I'm sorry, I'm really taken back by this. This is a real treat, and
Thank you.
um,
No,
I
I'm
mean,
glad.
beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It's the process of creation, whether it's on the music, on the blend, sometimes it's the same process.
Mm,
Except you're doing, there are seven notes. Uh, in music, and then you have some variation within that, the time and all of that. And then tobacco, we have actually a little bit better supply of different type of tobacco. So it's I think creativity is just a process of create, and whether you music and that, I approach the blending in the musical style, uh, you know. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about um, creating with a new La Boheme, the label, the thing, the colors. It's about the blending. The 1935, you've seen the 1935, right?
right.
Well, I'll show you here. This is the 1935. Is my this like the box on top is my how you call this, the cabinets,
Oh my
right?
gosh, it
It's
sure
the
is.
cabinet. Yeah, yeah. So it's the cabinet, and then the black is come from our black marble,
Oh my
and
goodness.
the box. It was during the pandemic. I was here for everything that I do is very personal.
Of course.
So it's an amazing opportunity to be there. But I was here all day. So what am I going to create? A 1935 box that resemble my. I was cooking and eating all
Yeah.
day long. So that's what happened.
That's wonderful. Well, that was our this or that segment brought to you by Artista Cigars. Moving on to our Everybody Eats segment, which is brought to you by Postano Cigars. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Postano Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Postano, everybody eats. Now, I know this is going to be a very personal topic. We've been talking about food a little bit, but this is a question that I've been wanting to ask you, and I know it's going to be really hard. So I just want to prepare you a little bit. But
Okay.
if you could, we for those who have listened to your story a number of times, you've talked about the apple and the Coca-Cola when you first
Right.
came to America. And I know
Yes.
what that meal meant to you personally, but I wanted to ask, is that the single most important bite of food that you've ever had in your life?
Absolutely. This apple, I never seen an apple. It was given to us when we got it out from the boat. It was a way of saying welcome. We haven't not eaten for the last 4 days. So they gave us that and Coca-Cola. I never tried the Coca-Cola or an apple. And that was an amazing. I don't drink Coca-Cola, apple so much. I drink Coca-Cola mostly with rum. It's too healthy, the apple now. But two of my favorite, for sure, most important meal. And sometimes when I invite some people and they think I'm going to cook for them and give them an apple and a Coca-Cola, I say, trust me, for me it's more important than an amazing meal.
I remember one of the press packets that you sent out years ago had a Coca-Cola in it.
Yeah.
And I knew how personal that was for you. I haven't had a Coca-Cola since 2015. I haven't had a Coke, so I don't drink soda anymore. Um,
Good for you.
but that the story is so important and
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And I love revisiting this topic with you every time I talk to you because I think um as I just asked, this all important bite of food, so simple to a
Simple.
man to a man years later, you're a success and you have the world's cuisine at your fingertips. You love food, you love to cook, you enjoy food just as much as I do as and any other real foodie out there. And but a simple apple is the most important meal you've ever had.
Amazing. And I went the other day to Josh that he was doing a fundraising for his campaign before the elections. I go to his house, to her house, and there was the Josh thing, the whatever you
The
call that,
gavel, yeah.
the gavel, and he had a Coca-Cola and an apple in her house. In there, that's the first thing I saw. And I go in and say, I know you came from Mariel. And she said, how do you know? I said, well, I also got an apple and a Coca-Cola. So it is very important for many people, like for me, had that first experience.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, that leads us into our next segment, which is our asylum moment, which is always brought to you by Asylum Cigars. Refuge is more than just a physical place and can be a state of mind. Some of life's greatest reflections can be found in our own personal asylum. Moments like these were made for Asylum Cigars. Light up an asylum and choose your refuge. Now, normally, Raphael, this segment is about a cigar and a moment. And I know you
Right.
didn't come to cigars until later in your time in America.
Exactly.
Um, but I wanted to go back to 1980 and the moment that you come to this country and everything. What was a moment around that time when you were on this side of the border, when you were in the America, and that you remember kind of sitting or alone in your thoughts and you said you were able to say I've made it. I've come. What was a moment like that for
It's
you?
a moment that I remember very vividly as it was today. It was a moment we have been 4 days on the sea in a boat. The motors were broken and all this, and we were just lost on the sea. And one morning, about 4 o'clock in the morning, a Coast Guard ship, which was amazingly big, which now I know it's not too big, but that's how it seemed to me, with a huge flag. And then it came two helicopters that are attached, taking people from the boat. That is a single most touching moment because we thought we were going to die. We thought we were going to die. And seeing the American Coast Guard was like an amazing. Everybody felt like me. Some people were already very sick and they couldn't recognize it. I wasn't as sick because when I was younger, I have gone to the sea a lot in Cuba. My family, we spent a lot of time with family, but that for me is the single most important moment that I will never ever, because that when we decide, when we thought we're not gonna die.
How old were
Sorry,
you?
I get a little
No.
emotional. 15.
Yeah, I know. You're 15. Um, I think I think it's a lot. I think it's something people who are born in this country definitely take for granted. You
Oh,
know, and
yes.
and 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 I don't want to say that escaping death is only native to people who are
Everybody
born in this
goes through
country. I
that.
mean, well, I don't know if everyone does, Raphael. I mean, I can't. I mean, there have been some moments in my life that were scary.
Right.
Um, um, I've been mugged, for example. Not the most safe time I've ever felt in my life. But when you're out at sea and I mean, for all intents and purposes, all alone. I know you had a group of people with you, but for all
Yeah, no, I
intents and
got my
purposes,
family, which my
yeah.
mother and father were just pass out of the difficult thing. My sister, the smaller one, who completely passed out, and so the world didn't feel it. And we had other people in the boat because we were 20 family and family and friends, and the government put 280 people from jails, prisons, and the and a mental institution. So a very scary time.
Yeah.
But when things are difficult, I think people, I never seen so many people, praying. And because those are the moments that you discover, right? You recover God.
Yeah. You know, for as long ago as it was, I mean, I know it was basically a lifetime ago, but I mean, just seeing your emotion now, it has to be it's still so vivid and it's still such a
Yeah.
part of you.
It is a
Um,
vivid because everything else we had done after, it started for that moment, and it made me be who I am today. It made me work hard as I work hard today because it's about survival and be trying to be the best we can. And sometimes we're going to succeed, sometimes no. It doesn't matter to me. What it matters, and I tell my kids that, did you give it your 100%? Yeah, okay, then doesn't matter if you fail. You give it. Now, if you internally, by the way, he's the only one, they're the only one that know that. If you didn't give it 100% and you fail, you should feel like shit because you should have given the 100% everything you do in life.
absolutely.
So, anyway, that's part of the history. And I appreciate every moment, every morning, life because a moment like that, I wouldn't be here. So,
Yeah.
I get number one to cigar, number two in your list, and that, and that. It's great. But God had other plans to me, and all of this great. But the most important thing is family, and we're alive.
Yeah. Well, Rafael, this is the last question of the evening, and I know I've said it several times tonight, but I cannot thank you enough for tonight.
No, thank you.
Especially, it was a tremendous honor. We got to hear you play the piano. Got to hear you talk about some of your latest projects and the journeys, multiple journeys. Um, and it's been beautiful. It's been a wonderful, wonderful
Thank you.
conversation as always.
Thank you.
So our last question of the night is always brought to you by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. It's our curveball segment. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park. 9 consecutive years in the consensus top three. He's looking for number 10, people. It's coming here in a couple weeks. We just know it. So, um, Rafael, we talked about this very pivotal moment in your life where you described it as life began for you with
Right.
the Mariel boat lift.
Absolutely.
In a very small way, comparatively speaking, you had another rebirth in the cigar industry, but then another rebirth comes along with your partnership with Tabacalera USA and Altadis USA.
Right.
When you decide, okay, I'm going to take my journey of boutique blends and merge it with this other journey, this other company, and create a new journey, create another path. So my question is this: if, and I know it's a big if and it's a big what if, but like if that partnership, for whatever reason, had not come to pass, what would have happened to boutique blends? What would you have done?
Well, I still have the office and I still have the employees and I still own the aging room brand. So I I was cautious optimistic. I was an amazing opportunity, but I never sold the brand. I continue to own it. I continue to have my distribution where we just send it to them, and we have an office. And I didn't think, well, I didn't know what was going to be. And one thing that I learned, you need to be prepared. Obviously, it has worked out for me, them, everybody else. So basically, it's not merging; it's mostly of a joint venture, a strategic joint venture. So I
Mhm.
never wanted to give up agent room. I wanted to have complete holded or complete creative on that, just like doing the others. And now the other day, I think my wife told me that you need to start relaxing. It looks like it's going to work. You never know. You never know.
Almost a decade later, I think this is going to work out for you.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Rafael, this again, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. Want to bid you adieu, and for all our audience who stays up late with us every Sunday night, really appreciate it. This was a little bit of a shorter show, but we wanted to accommodate Rafael and as he has accommodated us, and we were treated to piano playing. We were treated to beautiful stories. with tears of happiness, and we got to talk about some of the most herald journeys in the herald brands in the business today, and how you are playing such a pivotal role in their development. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
the
my
opportunity.
friend. An amazing opportunity. Hopefully, next time I can play the violin. And this was
Although
just something a little. I
a
not
little bit of
play
a
piano in
teaser.
a while. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm sorry that I'm so sick. We're not accounting. I think in 7 years I have not make it to one united in the to one event that I made commitment last year. For so many years I didn't make it, and another Father's Day commitment. I am very responsible. I made a commitment to you. You have prepared an amazing show. So I'm glad. I'm sorry that I have the thing, but for me to be here is an amazing opportunity. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you very much. So, without further ado, everyone, we really do appreciate those likes, shares, and comments. Keep them coming. You can always tune into us later wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review. If you already are a subscriber, do me a favor, hit unsubscribe, but don't forget to hit resubscribe. That helps my numbers. So I can get great guests like Rafael whenever I want. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Grand Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. If you're taking in a gander at our YouTube channel later on, our YouTube channel and video broadcast is always brought to you by Foundation Cigars. Nick Melillo began his career in the cigar industry at the age of 18, working in a cigar shop at Calabash Shop in his home state of Connecticut. He went on to work for the well-known cigar company Drew Estate, where he developed some of their most popular blends. In 2015, he started the Foundation Cigar Company to create unique and flavorful cigars that would appeal to from everyone from the novice to the most experienced smoker. Our good friends at Foundation Cigar uh, proudly produce our video broadcasts every night. And as always, I'm Bear Duplessis. This is our 318th take. I've done 318 of these. Still can't believe it. And it was my pleasure to welcome in my good friend Rafael Nodal as my guest of honor tonight. For everyone out there, I'm Bear Duplessis, live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. Guess what, everybody? He's Rafael Nodal, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.